2018 Dacia Duster SUV Review. The good points of Dacia Duster SUV. Fantastic value, both cash and PCP finance. Practical, nicely designed interior. Pleasant to operate a vehicle with slick gearbox. Well equipped for your price. Small but offers appealingly boxy SUV stance. The bad points of Dacia Duster SUV. More road noise than pricier rivals. Ride is often more settled. Rear seats don't fold flat. Diesel models comparatively pricey. Uncertainty over petrol automatic option. The Dacia Duster would be the UK's cheapest SUV, but even though you really shouldn't feel shortchanged here, even though the entry-level access version is ultra basic. That stripped out model signifies that prices start below £10,000. But moreover, PCP Finance Cost is even more impressive. At launch you can find a Duster for less than £150 every month, even with a down payment of about £600 using a 3-year, 6,000 mile per year contract. That's far under the Suzuki Vitara, Cetica and Kia Soul would cost you, in cash and finance terms. These are hardly bad value machines. Even far smaller crossovers would still cost much more. Don't think this Dacia recently low pricing to provide. The organization claims that it's vastly improved comfort, refinement plus the feeling of quality. And this isn't exaggeration. Sit inside, therefore you'd undoubtedly vastly overestimate simply how much the Duster costs. New Dacia Duster, not simply cheap but value. As a consequence, the Duster is not simply one on the cheapest cars you should buy, but moreover it really is among the best value, as you become a surprising amount for your money. Better still, its boxy but streamlined styling is appealing from the metal, it's enjoyable to operate a vehicle, and the interior is a good idea and clearly organized. So, this is not simply a car you'd buy due to low price, but because doing so appeals in its own right. That's quite an achievement on an off-roader which costs well under £17,000 even just in its priciest incarnation. Top cars for £100 month. Watch more here. Despite looking much like its predecessor, every panel is completely new, doing it a more modern, upmarket style than before. Adding to that impression, the Duster can be acquired with kit which includes never been available on the Dacia before, too, including keyless entry, climate control, a parking camera system and automatic headlights. One petrol, the other diesel engine available, 4-wheel drive optional. Duster buyers can select between a 115 horsepower 1.6-liter petrol engine along with a 115 horsepower 1.5-liter diesel. Both are purely available with a manual gearbox initially, having a 4-wheel drive option with the petrol. Additional engines, including a powerful turbocharged 1.2-liter petrol, further 4-wheel drive versions with an automatic gearbox should get to a later stage. As for specifications, 4 trims can be obtained, varying from Super Spartan with a top version that has kit you'd expect in a lot more expensive machinery. New Dacia Duster accessible in 4 trim levels. As to Dacia models, the Duster is accessible in extremely basic access form. This costs just £9,995 £500 more than with the previous version, though Dacia claims it includes lower like-for-like PCP finance costs, so that it is extremely affordable for many who don't have lots of cash from the bank. Available just with the 1.6-liter petrol engine, the Access version does without air cooling, a radio and speakers, and therefore many drivers would want to pay the excess to improve to essential trim. This adds niceties, for example air conditioning, radio, Bluetooth and split folding rear seat, making it considerably more appealing for some drivers. A similar price hike goes up to comfort specification, which gains alloy wheels, a touchscreen multimedia system with sat-nav and reversing camera with parking sensors. Range-topping prestige trim, meanwhile, includes larger 17-inch alloy wheels, part leather seats, climate control and parking cameras for easier maneuvering. Rock bottom PCP finance costs. You'd expect an automobile with low cash prices to supply affordable finance. Nevertheless, the Duster's PCP finance is extremely strong value. While a sub-pound 10,000 Citroën C1 could easily amount to well over £210 every month, the Duster's access is only £129 a month with identical contract terms, 36 monthly premiums, £612 deposit, 6,000 mile per year limit. The Duster is very affordable that it's more likely to appeal to many drivers considering financing a pre-owned car, since it's cheaper to advance than a 4-year-old, 15,000 mile entry-level version on the previous Duster, even though having a cheaper cash price and like a much less appealing car. Latest deals from Buiacar. Dacia Duster 1.5 DC 110 Prestige. £13,769, or £226 each month. Dacia Duster 1.6 Access 5 Drive Petter. £6,999, or £125 every month. See all deals on Dacia Duster. Representative example, representative APR of 7.9%, borrowing £10,509 over 48 months on HP type finance. Just how much payable can be £250 per month, using a total cost of credit of £1,483 plus a total amount payable of £11,992. Dennis Buiacar Limited, 3132 Alfred Place, London, WC1E7DPGBL 9151058 is usually a credit broker regulated by FCAFRN:667368. The verdict. You'd expect a £50,000 car to become comfortable, well-equipped, nicely styled and pleasant they are driving. But for getting all of those things from an automobile that is accessible from under £10,000, with very great value finance, is much more impressive. So much so this is a vehicle well worth considering even though you ignore the minimal pricing. The Duster will not be perfect, the ride can be quite a bit smoother, for example, but Dacia has chosen the corners to slice to allow the lower headline prices wisely, creating far wider appeal than its predecessor. Dacia Duster SUV Review. Petrol 4x2 feels nippier than figures suggest. Diesel offers greatest on-paper acceleration. Diesel ought to provide strongest in gear punch. Just 3 engine and transmission options can be purchased initially: a two-wheel drive, 5-speed manual 1.6-liter petrol, exactly the same engine which has a 6-speed manual and 4-wheel drive, including a two-wheel drive, 6-speed manual 1.5-liter diesel. The 1.6-liter petrol produces 115 horsepower and 156 Nm of torque, even though the Dacia diesel matches it for power but produces a great deal more low-down muscle, with 260 Nm of torque. Fastest of these will be the diesel, which accelerates from 0.62 miles per hour inside a reasonable 10.5 seconds, which enables it to keep going until 111 miles per hour. Next in line could be the two-wheel drive 1.6-liter petrol, 0.62 miles per hour rises in 11.9 seconds, even though it feels more responsive than that figure suggests, topping out at 107 miles per hour. In comparison to its Dacia Duster performance, slowest will be the 4-wheel drive petrol. The other 100 kilograms of 4-wheel drive mechanical shows that even with 6 gears and shorter gearing, an issue that normally boosts acceleration, this version requires 12.9 seconds to strike 62 miles per hour from your standstill. The top speed falls to 105 miles per hour. While not fast, the petrol engine is quiet enough to operate hard without feeling strained, as well as the gearbox can be quite slick, which makes it a satisfying car to operate a vehicle. As an outcome, regularly requiring you to use the throttle's full travel and changing gear regularly on faster roads isn't hardship, especially considering the amount of cheaper it is as opposed to diesel. We're yet to push the diesel on tarmac, but off-road it felt impressively refined for this sort of cheap car, together a similarly slick gearbox on the petrol. A turbocharged 130 horsepower petrol is likely to come to the Star 2019. Providing the pricing isn't excessive above the 1.6-liter petrol, this is more likely to be the pick in the range, offering stronger acceleration, reasonable fuel economy, so we imagine lower pricing compared to the diesel. Dacia can also be planning to introduce a mechanical gearbox with the diesel engine, even though it hopes to formulate one for at least on the list of petrol models too, though there isn't any date because of this at the time of writing. Steering now lighter but less precise. Perfectly competent around corners. Easier to maneuver out partying. The Duster is very easy to operate a vehicle and maneuver thanks to a new electrical power steering system, though this lacks the body weight and precision from the previous car when on faster roads. There's nothing wrong together with the new setup, even if it doesn't provide you with the best idea of just how much grip leading tires have when cornering at higher speeds. Despite this, niche between comfort and road holding is well judged for some drivers, because Duster is untaxing to push, parking is similarly simple and easy, it handles tidily enough around bends. Yes, should you carry excessive speed through low-speed corners, the soundness control cuts in abruptly to limit power since you reach the relatively low limit of front-end traction. The suspension is fairly soft, but keeps one's body in check reasonably well through turns. Aiding this would be the fact how the Duster, in all fairness, lightweight for the SUV with this size, so while it's not been designed to become thrown around corners, it shouldn't ensure you get into trouble either. Meanwhile, the Duster is a bit more capable dirt than most drivers could ever want. Ground clearance for four-wheel drive versions is usually a decent 210mm to 205mm for two-wheel drive models, along with short overhangs it's surprisingly capable over rough terrain. The four-wheel drive system provides good traction. The floor clearance will do for all, nevertheless the most challenging surfaces, and it's possible to possess hill descent control for safe downhill progress off-road. The only area in which the Duster tangibly lags behind much more serious off-roaders is from the level of water it could possibly wade through, that's capped at 350mm. Venture deeper than this so you might end on top of soggy carpets, because door seals aren't designed due to this level of immersion. While not decreasing towing car, because relatively lightweight and not too powerful engines, the Duster is usually a better tow car than anything vaguely similarly priced. The two-wheel drive 1.6-liter petrol can haul 1,400 kilograms of brake trailer, while using four-wheel drive petrol and two-wheel drive diesel raising that 1,500 kilograms. This compares with as low as 800 kilograms with the far pricier Fiat 500X to a single 1,200 kilograms to the Nissan Terrano, 1,300 kilograms for that Kia Soul, 1,200 kilograms for your 1.6-liter petrol Suzuki Vitara, though a significant 1,500 kilograms for that diesel. The only affordable model that poses real competition for the Duster at launch would be the Sitka, which often can tow 1,500 kilograms in entry-level petrol form and 1,700 kilograms with all the 115 horsepower diesel engine beneath the bonnet. Attractive, easy-to-use dashboard. Touchscreen media system good. Many design cues stolen from pricier cars. Avoid the super basic entry-level access model, which does without having a radio, aircon, split folding rear seats, as well as the Duster offers a spacious, usable interior with a great deal more kit than you'd expect to the money. Yes, a few parts, such as extremely scratchy and unsightly carpets, feel more suited with a cheap bed and breakfast than an automobile, but considering simply how much machine you get for your money as well as the decent selection of standard equipment, even this is really a very small criticism. More than this, all of the touch points, for example the wheel, seats, gear stick and dashboard controls feel designed to last and are also of a reasonable quality too. Better still, Dacia has liberally stolen design cues from the number of far pricier machines. The dashboard shape looks suspiciously much like the Land Rover Discovery Sport, As you move, the horizontal row of switches mimics that on the Mercedes GLC among others, as well as the rotary climate control dials that has a digital temperature display within the middle. Standard on top-spec versions only resemble those inside Audi Q5. Considering the Duster costs a tiny part of these desirable premium models, Dacia makes a savvy move by nabbing a selection of their design elements. That's because as opposed to just to be a practical car bought on cost alone, they assist make the Duster a vehicle people would want to own in its own right, having its stylish cabin now living nearly the bold exterior. Most from the controls are simple to navigate. Whether going for a model with AC or climate control, you will get 3 rotary controls that go over fan speed, temperature, and where you should direct the oxygen. Wheel-mounted audio controls keep it simplistic to tune radio stations, jump tracks, or modify the volume, and also the touchscreen media technique is pretty all too easy to use with big on-screen buttons. There are a few quirks, including an idiotically located switch to signal from choose between cruise control and speed limiter functions, which sits nearby the handbrake. This is far out of sight when driving, so that it is particularly distracting to discover. Thankfully, the driver's seat and wheel are inside a much better position. With a great deal more seat height adjustment than before, there was no issues getting a comfortable driving position that has a good view with the road ahead. Much improved seats and good driving position. Adequate space both in rows of seats. Light steering and reasonably comfy ride. Considering the cost, Dacia Duster comfort levels are excellent. The ride is generally smooth, compliant and quiet in comfort trim, which includes 16-inch alloy wheels, exactly the same size as entry-level access and mid-level essential models. Yes, the Duster bobs around slightly on rough tarmac, but it really deals with bumps effectively, is especially comfortable on smooth roads, and throws up little tire noise. There is lots of road noise at motorway speeds, though not to ever disruptive levels. Step around Prestige specification, therefore you can expect a rather firmer ride simply because this gets 17-inch alloy wheels, meaning an inch more metal and inch less rubber between you and also the road. Helping to boost comfort levels are seats that include much greater support versus the previous Duster. These offer good small of the back support plus reasonable side support for holding you in position around corners. As an allowance car, the Duster does feel more basic inside than the usual number of rivals, though Dacia did a good job of boosting the exact amount of sound deadening compared featuring its predecessor with a small price hike. Consequently, the Duster feels a great deal more refined on the highway than you'd expect for this type of cheap car, without much engine noise through the 1.6-liter petrol and little wind noise. Work the petrol engine hard, since you must to summon up strong acceleration with this motor, especially the way it only has 5 gears. And it really is quite loud, though this can be nothing out with the ordinary and perfectly acceptable taking into consideration the Duster's sale price. More problematic is the fact that both petrol and diesel models share exactly the same Rev Counter, which will show how hard you may work the engine. However, inexplicably the Rev Counter doesn't show the engine's maximum speeds for the dial, rendering them both pointless. Since the diesel engine's maximum speed is reached barely halfway throughout the dial, without the need of indication showing where that is, certainly, drivers are more very likely to work the engine harder compared to what they would otherwise, kicking up more noise from the process. Entry-level access features little or no equipment. Essential and comfort offer good balance, valuable and kit. Prestige hikes up price with mostly aesthetic extras. Dacia Duster SUV equipment. The basic Duster includes not much kit. The range-topping models are full of desirable tech, including Satan event parking cameras. Dacia Duster access equipment. Bar electric front windows, a height-adjustable tire speed limiter and something-piece folding rear seat bench. The entry-level access has not much kit. Yes, it lets you do have pre-wiring to get a radio, but considering all from the other models include this as standard, in case you want a radio and speakers, we'd recommend simply getting any on the other trim levels. Dacia Duster essential equipment. The essential version adds a raft of more kit including 16-inch hubcaps, Body-colored back and front bumpers. Front fog lights. Manual aircon. Height adjustable driver's seat. 6040 split folding rear seats. FMANDAB radio tuner. Steering wheel mounted audio controls. Bluetooth. O input and USB connection. Dacia Duster comfort equipment. Comfort models give a significant amount of IT technology over comfort models, for example. 16-inch alloy wheels. Electric-aided wing mirrors. Trip computer. Electric rear windows. Glove box light and front passenger watching light. Passenger sun visor mirror. Touchscreen media system with sat-nav. Rear parking camera and reversing sensors. Dacia Duster Prestige equipment. Topping the stove is Prestige trim, which adds the subsequent 17-inch alloy wheels. Part leather upholstery. Climate control. Multi-view parking cameras with sensors. Blind spot detectors. Dacia Duster SUV, optional extras. Few optional extras can be found, though it is possible to get metallic paint, Western European mapping with the sat-nav, leather upholstery plus a spare wheel for two-wheel drive models. Many more accessories can be obtained, though. These include a burglar alarm, parking sensors, tow bar and lots of packs which bundle different bits together. Only scores 3 stars in European crash test. New test exacting than previous versions. Duster discounted for insufficient crash avoidance kit. Dacia Duster safety is really a story of two halves. The Duster includes ABS, stability control, front and side airbags and blind spot detectors, that flag if there are any cars alongside you hidden inside the blind spot. However, it lacks kit that's standard on pricier rivals, including EB, automatic emergency braking, which dramatically limits its crash test rating. As a consequence, the Duster only receives a 3-star Euro NCAP crash test rating in comparison with 5 stars to the smaller Hyundai Kona, although the closely related Kia Stonic only scored 3, as did the budget-focused MG ZS. This signifies that the Duster lags behind pricier models that a better job of preventing being involved in a very crash from the first place. However, in case you ignore the clever crash avoidance kit, the Dacia does a notably worse job of protecting adults from the front and children within the rear versus the smaller Seat Terrano and Hyundai Kona Kia Stonic. While the Duster isn't unsafe, some alternatives will continue you out of trouble inside first place whilst you better protected should you do have a collision. How many ICE-fix child seats can I fit inside a Dacia Duster SUV? ICE-fix child seats is usually fitted to the Duster's outer rear seats, though in case you want to fit much more child seats, you should use another mounting system to secure them set up. Watch, Dacia Duster SUV Euro NCAP crash test. Tons of space to the price. Lots of boot room, though a bit narrow. Enough room from the rear for 3 adults. 5 people are able to fit inside Dacia Duster without an excessive amount of trouble, though larger adults won't be too happy inside the middle on the Duster's rear bench on longer journeys. Knee room for rear passengers can be slightly tight too, if those inside front hold the seat moved every one of the way back. Boot space within the other hand, is good with the size of car, therefore you shouldn't will have luggage overflowing through the boot in the cabin. Despite its SUV billing, the Duster feels relatively small and all too easy to maneuver. The high driving position gives a fantastic view in the road ahead, and also the rear visibility surpasses it looks through the wide rear pillars and small windows. As an effect, in case you go to get a Duster that has a reversing camera under parking sensors, you shouldn't have numerous issues parking. The boot is long but relatively narrow and has now a bit of any lip to lift luggage over, making loading a bit trickier of computer could be. Meanwhile, the back seats don't fold flat either. This implies that if you aspire to slide large and high loads all of the way into the boot and on the seat backs, you'll need to use some muscle to lift them in the large bump manufactured by the base from the seat back. Go for just a 4-wheel drive Duster and boot space tumbles from 445 liters to 411 together with the rear seats set up. If a spare wheel is equipped, that falls further to 376 liters. in comparison to its absolute volume for Dusters fitted with four-wheel drive that stands at 1,559 liters in case a spare is equipped and 1,614 liters without.